All right. Morning, morning, morning. Welcome to the Ash Cash Show. Every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Martizia, morning, morning, morning. Welcome to my Mind Right Moguls. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, if you're listening, whatever you're doing, we appreciate you. You are a Mind Right Mogul, and we are saluting you because once you get your mind right, everything else falls into place. All right, so let me so welcome, 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 all my folks. So if you are watching me live, wherever you watch, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, go to the ashcashshow.com and subscribe to the podcast. I am, we'll be releasing exclusive interviews, so I won't do interviews live here because an hour's not enough time. But I will be releasing some live interviews soon, one-on-ones that you can only find on the podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, theashcashshow.com. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. This is a movement. We are creating a news outlet for us, by us. So let's definitely, share this word, share it, like it, tell a friend to tell a friend, but make sure you are subscribe on ashcashtv.com. All right. So as you know, we always start our show. First, we go over the news and we talk about what's in the news. And then I open it up for any questions that you guys may have. And so that is the Ask Ash Cash segment. So we have the news, what's happening in the finance world, what's happening in the hip hop and pop culture world as well. So we'll talk about some of those things, and then we'll open it up for any questions. So if you have any questions, feel free. You can email them info@mindrightmoney.com. You can also send your messages via social media, and so we're looking at the question box. You can put them in IG in the question box. You can put them down below if you're watching live on Facebook. But then again, you could also email them as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Overtime Hoops, my guy AJ, what's good, man? Grace the DJ, good morning, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning, good morning. DJ M Fresh, what's good, my G? Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so let's start with the with news, with the finance news. And so let's go over the markets, right? So the markets year-to-date performance, and this is via Morning Brew as of market close. And so for year-to-date, the NASDAQ is up 0.47%. S&P 500 is actually down 11.36% year-to-date. We have the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 17.01%. Gold is up year-to-date 15.40%. So anybody who's interested in gold, do some research on it. But it is up 15.40%. 10-year Treasury is actually down 127.40 bips. And then oil is down. Man, y'all ready for this? Oil is down 51.46% year to date. So, oil is down. And we talked about this in some of the earlier shows, but it's really about supply and demand. And so when you look at the economy, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell talked about the economy. And he was on 60 Minutes talking about the economy. And one of the questions they asked was, will the economy recover? And so what he's saying is we really don't know, which is, I think we all were thinking that we don't know. But to hear, I guess, the Fed chair, the person who is in charge of knowing these things about the economy, he said that he really doesn't know. Because at the end of the day, the reason why he doesn't know is because there's so much unknowns, right? And so what he was saying was that he expects there be a steady economic growth in the second half of the year, but that's only if there's not a second wave of the virus. right? And so if things start to settle down and there's no second wave, then his estimation is that the economy will start to grow the second half of next year, which is the second half of 2021, right? But if there's a second wave of the virus, then the recovery of the economy may be more prolonged than expected. And so, I mean, at this point, we're just hoping that us as individuals take proper precautions so that we, stop the spread. Number one. Number two, that the elected officials start to take the proper precautions that's needed to stop the spread. Right now, we're watching a lot of states open up. Cities are opening up, and they're choosing the economy over proper precautions. And I'm not saying this because I see different opinions about this, right? So I see some people are saying, well, how are people supposed to eat? Especially when you think about the black and brown community, where majority of the at-risk jobs to catch the coronavirus, where you like in close proximity, things of that nature, are held, predominantly by black and brown, the black and brown community. And so, a community that for the most part has been, always plagued with inequality, economic inequality, things of that nature. So when you think about opening up, it's I could go both ways is what I'm saying. I could go both ways. Part of me is saying, hey, be safe, but then there are a population of people who need to feed their families. You know what I mean? And I for me, I'm fortunate enough that my business doesn't I don't have to be around people in order to conduct my business, but there are people who do, and so it's a double-edged sword. So let's just keep a lookout on that. But let's still use our common sense. Let's still kind of listen to science too, and see what's happening. I found this interesting as well. So internationally, Japan, which is the world's third largest economy, has officially entered a recession. But just to kind of let you understand what a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, meaning that businesses are not growing. And so 2 consecutive quarters of negative, right? So first quarter, January, February, March. Second quarter, April, May, June. Which actually then they might have had a negative because the second quarter isn't up yet. And so they might have had negative on the fourth quarter of last year, 2019, and in the first quarter of 2020. And so they're officially, in a recession. And just kind of give you an update on who are, the top economies in the world. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, but obviously, America is the number one top economy, and then China, then Japan. So the third largest economy in the world has officially gone into a recession. After Japan, you got Germany, India, UK, France, Italy, Brazil, and Canada in that order. But just to kind of give you a spectrum, the size of the U.S. economy is 21.4, and that's in I guess that's in trillions. Then the second largest economy, which is China, at 14.1, then Japan at 5.2, right? Then you look at the other economies, right? Germany 3.9, India 2.9, UK 2.7, France 2.7, Italy 2.0, Brazil 1.8, and Canada 1.7. Like if you take, let me see, 6, 4, 10, 3, that's 13, 16, another 3, that's 19, 21, and then 4, right? So if you take 2, 4, 6, 7. You take the bottom 7 economies, which is Germany, India, UK, France, Italy, Brazil, and Canada. The U.S. economy is bigger than all of those countries put together. So just to kind of give you context on why U.S. is the superpower, why people are always looking at the U.S. economy, to follow what else the world is doing. So keep that in mind as well. All right. So in today's news, the House passes the HEROES Act. And so House lawmakers passed new legislation that will provide $3 trillion in coronavirus relief. The $600 per week increase in unemployment insurance established previously under the CARES Act would be extended until January 2021, right? And so right now, those payments are scheduled to end by July 31st, the latest. And so, the House or the HEROES Act is looking to extend that. The thing about that, though, is it passed the House. People are speculating that it's going to be really, really hard for it to pass the Senate, right? So it was the Democrats who passed it in the House, but people are speculating that the Senate is probably not going to pass it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But this is definitely a great start for a second round of stimulus packages because, like I said earlier, the Fed chairman. He's saying, if things remain the same, then he sees a recovery starting second quarter next year. But if there's a second wave of the virus, then he's potentially, we don't know when the economy is going to recover. So these stimulus checks, unemployment being extended is a good thing for those who are already strapped. In other news, FDA approves an at-home nose swab. And so the Food and Drug Administration is granting emergency clearance for a coronavirus testing kit that allows people to take nasal samples in their own home and send it to a laboratory for diagnostic testing. The FDA granted the clearance to the company Everlywell Incorporated. So we should look into Everlywell. I'm not sure if Everlywell is being traded on the stock market, but maybe we should look into Everlywell Inc. EVERLYWELL Inc. For my Mind Right moguls out there, check it for me. Put it in the comments. Let me know if it's a publicly traded company. But the new test is authorized to be used by individuals at home who've been screened using an online questionnaire that is reviewed by a healthcare provider. And so I think that's a way of testing without being so pervasive, and having people come to your house, because I know that they had the HR 666 proposal where they would do mass testing and come to your house, and so potentially you doing it on your own is less an intrusion of your privacy and less forceful. So look out for that. This was interesting and almost expected. Grocery prices are on the rise, right? So as the coronavirus pandemic continues, Americans now have a new battle to fight. And that's higher prices at the grocery stores. The Labor Department reported last week that consumers paid 2.6% more for groceries in April than they did in March, right? So prices are going up. The largest one month increase since February 1974, right? And so, we're seeing that that grocery is the prices are going up. And it's gone up 2.6%, which is the largest that it's ever increased since February 1974, right? Which is a big deal. The price of meat, poultry, fish, and eggs rose 4.3%. Cereal and bakery products jumped 2.9%, and fruits, vegetables, and dairy goods all jumped 1.5%. Right? And so look, the price index for eggs alone climbed to just over 16%. Eggs climbed over 16%, the biggest increase of any single food. And so we know, again, supply and demand, which demand is high, right? So demand is really, really high. But I think supply is what's driving the prices up, right? Because when you think about the demand being high, but then with everything shutting down and production not being the way it's supposed or usually is, there's now sort of this scarcity. And then when you look at the scarce VR company that allows you to attend concerts. And so is this, right? Is this the future, right? Is this the future of live events? And so tech giant Apple has acquired the virtual reality company Next VR in a deal reportedly worth around $100 million. The purchase suggests that Apple is preparing to expand its business to include virtual reality and augmented reality. Next VR builds VR software that puts users inside sporting events, concerts, and other live events, and had previously created custom experiences for the NBA, WWE, CNN, and more. So think about that for a second. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's dope to be amongst people and to be, connected and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if you want to experience these things and not necessarily want to be around people, but you still want to experience the live of it. I've never done sort of like a virtual reality. I've heard that it feels real, depending on the platform you're using. And so I think that potentially that could be the wave. But Martizia on IG says health issues are related to VR, not me. That's a great point. So we definitely want to look at that, right? Because virtual reality, what are you putting, like what rays and things that you're kind of putting next to your body. I mean, specifically, so close to your brain. So that's a good point. That's something good to look at. So appreciate that, Martizia. And so, all right, cool. And then so Reagan Slade says time to go vegan, right? When you think about the meat prices and fish and all that stuff going up. So it might be time to go vegan because at the end of the day, you can raise your own food. We also know that Everly has not gone public yet. The CEO is Julia Cheek, and they founded the company in 2015. Thank you, My Right Moguls, for your quick responses. I appreciate you. In hip hop news, I did hockey experience a couple of years ago. Bass Moreno said he did hockey experience via VR a couple of years ago. All right. I appreciate that. All right. In hip hop news, Dreamville Festival 2020 is officially canceled. So for all the J. Cole fans out there, last year was the first annual Dreamville Festival, but they officially announced that they're canceling the 2020 edition. It was expected to go down in April, but in March the festival was forced to reschedule it as of the as the coronavirus began its rampage. According to the press release, the second annual festival was set to return at Dorothea Dix Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, in August. But because of the coronavirus pandemic, the festival team has made the difficult decision to cancel. The organizers do, however, plan to return in 2021 and release a statement addressing the cancellation. Speaking of J. Cole, he will be adding 7 gold and 3 platinum RIAA certifications, plaques says Mantle. And so the IRAA, which stands for the Recording Industry Association of America, who are the ones that give the platinum and gold plaques, they confirmed that 7 new gold certification and 3 platinum selling singles for Cole on Thursday, May 14th. One of his certified platinum releases, Neighbors, from the 2016 For Your Eyes Only secured double platinum status for selling 2 million copies. So salute to that. I love this because I love J. Cole's music. I think he's definitely one of the leaders of the new school. I love his music, but I also love what he stands for. I love his how who he is as a person. But then also I think that this shows also the slow grind, right? So he got a double platinum plaque in 2016. So I think that also shows sort of like the slow grind, that a lot of times you don't have to focus on making all of your money or doing everything all at once. That sometimes there's a slow grind that you could take advantage of. Verses, right? So I don't know if you guys are watching the Verses. And so I watched the Verses on Saturday. So if you don't know, Verses is a live battle between artists. So whether it's producers, songwriters, rappers, there's different battles that go on. And so Ludacris battled Nelly. And at first, Nelly was getting his Teddy Riley on. He was having issues with his Wi-Fi. But granted, we heard that in St. Louis there was a storm happening, and so that was probably one of the reason why he was getting the shoddy Wi-Fi. But they did eventually go on. I thought it was classy. I thought it was really classy. I enjoyed the music a lot. You know what? Let me not sugarcoat. Let me be honest. Like, I'm a Ludacris fan. I like Nelly. I think Nelly has had some great success, especially as it relates to putting St. Louis on the map. But I was never really a Nelly fan as it relates to his music, because I just thought that his music was more so for the ladies, like he was, a ladies' man or whatever. And like, that's who he was after. It was all mostly commercial hits. And I just think Luda, for me, lyrically is just a dope dude. You know what I'm saying? So I think that even with his hits, he would body remixes, like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I think Luda kind of like murdered Nelly in that, and this is my opinion. It was dope though to look at Nelly, so I need Nelly's confidence though. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a Scorpio thing, because he's definitely a Scorpio. Salute to my Scorpios out there. But Nelly I'm telling you, Nelly was playing these hits. I mean, not even hits, but he was playing these songs, and I was like, I was definitely listening to songs that I was like, yo, this joint is trash. But you could not tell based on his face. Like Nelly was like vibing. Like he's one of them cats. Now, let me not play my guy, you know what I'm saying? Because he is Scorpio gang. But yeah, he was definitely, confident. We need Nelly's confidence. Like, he was playing stuff that you like even if you read the comments inside, she was like, yo, what is that? Like, what is that? But he was like vibing. He was singing these things. He was dancing. They also say he was drunk too, so maybe that has something to do with it. But salute to my guy Nelly. Salute to my guy Ludacris, who won hands down. So I was looking at my guy B Dot. I was looking at my guy B Dot's Instagram. So I think Busta Rhymes and Swiss Beats was on live. And so B Dot, had reposted it, and I saw it, where they're potentially looking at Busta Rhymes versus Fat Joe. I think that'd be crazy. So I don't think people respect. First of all, I think Busta Rhymes is a beast. He got hits over hits over hits, but I don't think people respect my guy Joe like they should. Like Joe has been out since the late 80s. Like, I don't think y'all understand this. Like, I don't think y'all understand that my guy Joe has been out since the late 80s. And in 2020, my guy is still relevant. My guy has still been dropping hits. And as much as I love Busta Rhymes, if Joe accepts the battle and Joe goes against Busta Rhymes, I think that Joe would probably get this. I love it though, because Busta was he's with all the smoke. So from an energy perspective, meaning from an entertainment perspective, I think Busta got him, right? But I don't know. I think when you go hit to hit, I think we're sleeping on Joe. It's gonna be a great battle. I'm not gonna say he's gonna smoke him hands down, but I mean, you see, I'm looking in the comments, Martezia, Busta all day. My guy Jason Clare, my brother Jason Clare said Busta would win that though. Busta been out since the '80s too, unless they are only doing solo projects. I mean, I don't know. I think that I think that Busta has a great catalog, and he got some hits. But I think that Joe's gonna come in as the underdog, and people are gonna really be surprised at what I'm saying at what he brings to the table. So, but the good thing about it is that this versus is great for the either on there live or who see it afterwards. I know Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, they had almost 1 billion impressions on their battle, but then their song sales went up 300%, right? And so that's the economics of it. And so when we think about the freemium model, right? Because I know a lot of people are saying, hey, why aren't they charging? Why don't they do it on a better platform or whatever the case may be? And I know that Swiss and Timberland are like, yo, this is for the culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're doing this for the culture. And as they do it for the culture, you also want to just make sure that, this is being done for the culture. It's free. It's allowing people, as they're being quarantined to feel good about themselves. But the economics of it, right? This is what I'm saying. The economics of it is also good because now these artists are able to, make money because you're reminding them about who you are. So as a business owner, right? If you're a business owner, think about that, right? Think about that for a second. As a business owner, sometimes you want to be able to charge for all of your content. But sometimes when you are doing a freemium model and you're giving out stuff for free, you are able to, the artists are able to capitalize off of that. So I do appreciate that. Dimples 44R says we need to create our own platform though. I agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000% because if we had our own platform, and maybe that's something they're working on, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something that they're working on. But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like, if you create your own platform, right, you may not be able to get as many people as you would using somebody else's platform. And that's why, so my guy Jason Clare says free marketing, right? So think about it, right? So would you rather be a big fish or a small fish in a big pond? No. That's a wrong analogy. I was going to use a analogy, but that was the wrong saying for this one. Because in this example, I'm saying that if you go in and people are already, right? So people are already on, these platforms. And then they see that, all right, we're already on these platforms. This thing is happening. You'll probably get more people who are willing to jump on. Then when you move it to your own platform, you may lose some people. That's what I'm saying. So that way doing it this way does allow more people to join. But who knows? I'm just speculating. Who knows if they did have their own platform? Potentially, you could see, how things flow. Keith Murray says, do you think after quarantine Versus would still be as big as it is? But I don't know. Honestly, I think it's big as it is right now because of quarantine, right? Because people aren't going out, and so this is a prime opportunity to take advantage. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that, just like I say this for everybody. I say, yo, take advantage of this time. Everybody's home, so use this as an opportunity to put out any idea that you have. That way, you see if the idea works, and then you see if the idea works at a minimal viable product. You're not spending a lot of money doing it, and then eventually, when the everything opens up, people are used to what you're delivering, and you could potentially deliver it a different way. So I appreciate that. All right, last story. Then I'm gonna open it up for questions. It's about my guy DMX. So DMX reportedly still owes the state of New York $225,000 in back taxes. And so, after serving time in federal prison for tax evasion, the state of New York is now reporting seeking $225,000 in back taxes from the hip hop legend. According to Gossip, the state of New York Division of Taxation has filed a tax warrant against X. alleging he owes a total of $224,845 in state income tax. X has had tax warrants from the state before. In 2018, the state issued a lien against him for $20,000, and again in 2014 for $230,000. But his longtime attorney, Murray Richmond, does not sound too worried because he said that this isn't a set of new unpaid taxes. So they are going after him for the $225,000 in taxes. I did find it interesting. I do there's a long list of artists who have and actors and entertainers who have gone down with the jail and all that stuff over tax evasion. I do think that when you think about artists or anybody who has not had financial education in their life, a good financial advisor, a business manager, I think that this is why we're seeing these things happen. But even remember in Fat Joe's case where he had spent some time in jail over tax evasion. A lot of it is not because of them. Right? Like a lot of times they hire people to take care of these things for them, and they trust that these people who are taking this, doing these things for them, are managing it the right way. And because they just leave it alone, they just be like, all right, my accountant got it, my financial advisor got it, my business manager got it, that they don't even realize that things are not being done accurately. And so that's why I always employ financial education first. Like for me, for instance, before I hire anybody to do anything for me, I want to make sure that I understand it, right? Because how can there be checks and balances if you don't understand it, right? Like if you hire somebody to do your taxes, for instance, and they're telling you, oh, you get this, you get this expense, you get that expense, you get this write-off, you get that write-off, but you don't understand what a write-off is, then you could potentially get yourself in trouble, right? And so it's important that CPAs, financial advisors, business managers, that they're actually, they're actually educating you, right? My guy Keith Murray says CPAs and financial advisors, stealing from them, that's where it comes from in a cash. Need people from the culture, that's for the culture, spreading that financial literacy. Exactly. Like I agree 100%. I think that, but that's again a double-edged sword. I think that for a long time, I mean, even in hip hop, for a long time, hip hop has been raising up people that's not from the culture as their trusted advisors, right? Like they even put it in songs, like my Jewish lawyer, my Jewish attorney, and not saying there's anything wrong. This is not like a bash on Jewish attorneys or Jewish lawyers, but a lot of times these people are not from the culture. When I say culture, I'm meaning hip hop, right? Like they're not from hip hop culture, and like for me, for instance, when I look at somebody like Fat Joe, like he's a legend to me. Like I was a kid when he came out. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a legend. Living legend, you know what I'm saying? So, DMX, legend, you know what I'm saying? Legend. All these legendary people. And so, my vision and working with guys like that wouldn't be only about money. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, like I'm from the culture, but I'm a financial, educator, a financial advisor. And I look at these guys as like legendary. So I do think that there is something to be said about, people from the culture being able to work with other people from the culture, because there's a set of understanding, and then there's a set of trust and allegiance that goes into that. Martiza said that's what we do, for us, by us. You know what I'm saying? Fat shout out to Martizia, CFP Pro. Check her out. Hey, Hove need to start that wealth management division. That's a fact. That's a fact. Or there need to be more, black and brown financial advisors or financial wealth management companies started as well. Because when you think about it, again, we're only 2% of the population. Most of the people who provide financial advice are, 98% of them are not black or brown. So we also need to get more people in that field so that we have qualified people helping people manage money. All right, that is it for my news. I'm going to open it up for any questions that you guys may have. If you have any questions, right, if you're watching live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Please put your comments below. If you're watching live on Instagram, please put your comments in the comments box, and so that I could answer your questions. Let's see. That's why I'm here. My guy Kinsley Dugan in the building. What's up, bro? That's why I'm here. Absolutely, my guy Kinsley in the building. Definitely, one of the people for the culture, from the culture, that's making it happen. Martesia making it happen. So salute to all the financial advisors out there who are from the culture, for the culture, who are definitely out here making it happen. Salute to you guys. All right, let's see what questions we got. If you got any questions, please put them in the comment box. So Grace, the DJ, my homegirl Grace, Brick City in the building. I don't know if you're from Brick City. I don't know if you're in New Jersey though, but I don't know if you're from Brick City. But either way, New Jersey in the building. Let's see. Would you recommend Self-Lender to help boost my credit? I do think Self-Lender is a good option to boost your credit. I don't think it's the only option. I think there's other options. I think that when you so again, when you look at the way your credit is broken down, it's 5 categories: 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. Payment history, usage ratio, usage ratio, length of credit history, credit mix, and any new credit that you have. From my understanding, I don't know if Self-Lender has started to provide credit cards yet. I know that at one point they were doing loans. They were doing installment loans or personal loans to help build your credit. And so I know that your personal loans do help as it relates to your payment history, that 35% of your payment history. So it helps with that. It helps with your length of credit history. So the longer you keep it open, any new credit mix. But it doesn't help with the 30% if they haven't started offering credit cards yet. And so my estimation is that credit cards work better for your credit than a personal loan, right? And the reason why I say credit cards work better, because when you think about credit cards, it activates that 30%. And so if you have a secured credit card, right? If you can't get credit for whatever reasons, you could go to get a secured credit card, and getting a secured credit card will definitely help boost your credit. So if you need help with a secure credit card, go to my website, mindrightmoney.com. Under resources, there's a tab for secured credit cards, and you can get a secured credit card there. It also offers you, the secured credit card should go to all 3 credit bureaus, right? And so it should be reported to TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. It should be reported to all 3 credit bureaus. So definitely, take a look and make sure that that's happening. But yeah, that's what I would say to that. Great question there. Next question, my guy Kinsley Dugan. Do you know the fastest way to boost your credit score 90 to 180 days? Great question, right? And so the fastest way to boost your credit score in 90 to 180 days is to, number one, make sure that you have no derogatory or collection items on your account. And if you do, you should immediately go to dispute those items, because as you dispute those items, they're not going to count towards your report. And I mentioned this before, the fact that everybody's at home and quarantine, the law hasn't changed as it relates to your credit. And so if you dispute something to the credit bureaus, they have 30 to 45 days in order to respond to you. So if they don't respond to you in that amount of time, then it has to be removed. And as something is in dispute, it doesn't count towards your credit score. But you didn't hear that from me. So that's number one. Number two, look at your credit card usage, because that's 30% of your score. And so if you're above 30% usage on your credit cards, and that is negatively affecting your score. And so I would pay down your credit cards to lower than 30% in order to build up that score. There's other ways to do it. Let's say if you don't have the money to pay down your credit cards, potentially getting yourself added as an authorized user on someone else's credit card that has a large limit and a low usage, right? So that's another way to immediately boost that up, because let's say, for instance, your usage ratio is is high, and then all of a sudden you get So I appreciate that question. Jazz Young in the building. Jazz Young in the building. That's my sis. It was funny. We was talking about DMX being a legend and what he's going through. My sister Jazz Young, you know what I'm saying, one of the marketing masterminds behind DMX. So that's you know what I'm saying. So salute to her. Let's see what other questions we got. So let's see. So my guy Jason Clare said, what's the chances that you will create a charge card to help the youth get started? Great question. At some point, I'm not sure. At some point, I would definitely look at charge cards and other things to help the youth get started. One of my ultimate goals that I would love to do is I would love to start a bank or a credit union. And so if that, in God's will, if that happens, then definitely, creating a charge card to get the youth started. I will say that I am, and they're not endorsing me, but they better cut the check at some point. But I do use Capital One for my daughter. They have a pretty decent account. So she has a Capital One account where it allows the parent to control it. So I do like them for that. Green Path is another one. I don't know what fees are associated with Green Path. I know with Capital One there's no fees, so I don't pay anything for her. But there are other like charge cards and things that are out there on the market. And so I know that in looking at my my daughter having Capital One, I like it because she gets her own debit card with her name on it. When we go to the store, she could buy her own stuff, and we could teach her hands-on how to how to manage her money. So but yeah, to your point, the bigger play for me, I would love to start a bank, start a credit union, something like that, and just have a financial institution for us, by us. That's my big goal. All right, let's see. We got Sarah Drea on Instagram says, what do you think about a Roth 401k? I think it's dope. I think that a Roth account allows you to have tax-free distribution, and I think that if you're young, it's even more so better. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it's better, even more so, because when you think about a Roth allows you to take out money tax-free. So granted, the money won't be tax deductible, meaning that you won't be able to deduct it from your taxes today. But if you are investing that money into something that is lucrative, right? That's increasing. That increase you never have to pay taxes on. So let's say, for instance, in your lifetime, you've put $200,000 into a Roth account, and that 200,000 grows to $1 million over your lifetime, then that additional $800,000 you never have to pay taxes on. And I appreciate that. I think that I like that better than to get a tax deduction on the 200,000 today, but then your account grows to $1 million, and then you have to pay taxes on the whole $1 million as you're taking the money out. So I'm a big fan of the Roth account. So I would say Roth are the way to go. Let's see. So we got Diving in Stilettos first. Says, have you heard of NACA? Is it a smart program to use for a first-time home buyer? I've heard of NACA. I do like NACA. I think NACA, the reason why I like NACA is because NACA doesn't just come with good deals and things of that nature, but they also have the education that comes with it. So as a first-time home buyer, I do think that there's a lot of education that's necessary in order for somebody to be successful in purchasing a home. I've known a lot of people and heard of a lot of people who were first-time home buyers, and as they are first-time home buyers, they get into situations where they didn't know everything that came with buying a home, and so they got into trouble, and they were were, for whatever reasons, lost the house or went into foreclosure or had to downsize or whatever, because of that education. I think education is key before anything. Before you start a business, have education. Before you buy a first home, have education. Before you hire a CPA or anybody like that, have education. I think education is important, and I think education is the key, to longevity in anything. And so I do like NACA because they do provide that education. Appreciate the question. All right, what else we got? All right. I like this. AUE Locks say, what are your thoughts around using 401k to start a business or buy a home? That's a great question. I think that a 401k should be used for your retirement. I do think it should be used for your retirement. I do think that a business could also be used for your retirement as well, right? Meaning that if it's a viable business, the business is doing well, then it could also be used for your, for your retirement. A home, potentially, if it's the right deal. I wouldn't necessarily buy a home to live in using a 401k unless it's a multi-use family, meaning like a duplex or a triplex or whatever, where you could potentially get some income doing it. What I would say is do that as the last resort. I wouldn't necessarily do that as the first thing. Like, hey, I'm gonna do this first. I would do it probably as the last resort. Number one. Number two, even when you think of definitely from a business perspective, starting a business, I would use it as a last resort because I'm not a fan of starting a business with a lot of capital. I'm a fan of making sure that you have a minimal viable product. Secure your first bag first. Make sure that this is something that people actually want, that people actually are going to invest in. Like, do that first before you start dumping all this money into it. I know people who have started businesses who were like, yo, this is a great idea. They didn't really test the idea. They just kind of like did it. They got investors, or they, borrowed money, or whatever the case may be. And by doing that, they put all this money into this business and did not reap the benefits that they wanted to reap. And so I'm a fan of, making sure that it's viable first. So before I put out a book, before I put out any products or services, I will put a lot of time in, maybe, and try to put out a product from a minimal viable perspective as much as possible. And then, based on that, based on the minimal viable product, how it does allows me to double down. I'll give you an example, for instance, small example, but my books, for instance, right? So, I put a lot of time, effort into writing books or whatever, not a lot of money. And then I put the book out, or I tease it first to see if people are going to buy it. Then if people buy it, then I dump it out and I put it out for sale. And then if I've had enough people buy it or pre-sell it or whatever, I then start to dump money into it so more people could see it, right? So then I'll get a press release. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay money to get a press release. I'll maybe pay some influencers, do influencer marketing. I then would pay for ads, right? And so all of my books on Amazon, or the ones that do well, I spend ad money, right? So I spend money getting those books in front of more people, because the more ad money I spend, the more people buy it. But the only reason I'm willing to spend money on ads is because I've already proved the concept. So To that question about using your 401k to start a business, I wouldn't necessarily use it to start the business. I would use it to grow the business, right? So like, let's say for instance, once you have proved the concept, and you know that people are buying it, and you need this extra money, because if you had this extra money, it would allow your business to thrive more, or you could double down on the things that are already working, that's already giving you money. Then I would say yes, that's a good idea. But other than that, I would use 401k as a last resort, because the 401k, you got to think about it, right? Because in some cases, your 401k, if you withdraw money from your 401k prior to 59 and a half, they might, charge penalties and things of that nature. You're going to get taxed on it if you weren't taxed on it. I know there's some provisions now because of coronavirus, but still, you want to use it as the last resort. Great question, Locks. I appreciate you. All right. Shauna's Marketing says, any recommendations on which banks to open an initial business account with? Honestly, I would say do your research. I'm not versed enough. Not saying I'm not versed enough, but I think from my personal experience that it's based on location, and based on the services that you need, right? So I'll give you an example. So when I was, so I live in Atlanta now. When I lived in New York, I had a local bank. I had a local bank. I won't say their name because I won't say their name. I had a local bank, and I didn't really like their service, even though I love their mission. I didn't really like their service, and so I wound up closing it. Then I went to a regional bank, and the regional bank was good. But again, there was something about their service, because it was a smaller bank. They just didn't provide good enough service for me. And then as I started to travel more for work, I realized that it was necessary for me to have access to a bank that was, state to state. Like if I needed to get cash or whatever the case may be. Granted, you could do things with your debit card or whatever the case may be, but if I needed like cash, I wanted to be able to walk into a bank and get cash, and so that's why I started banking with a national. I do have my business account with a national bank. I'm not 100%. That's why I'm not saying their name, because I'm not 100% satisfied with them. They do the trick. Or they're good, you know what I'm saying? But I would rather potentially bank with, no, I wouldn't say that. They do the trick. Let me not say that. Let me not like ish on them. You know what I'm saying? Like I like them. But I do have other accounts, other places. I haven't found an online bank that is good for business yet. If you know any recommendations, please put them so I could check them out. But right now, I would say just do your research, and I'll start to look at some of those things. But just understand what you need. If you run a business and your business is mainly like from a local perspective, then having a local bank might be the best. You know what I'm saying? Especially because when you think about loans and knowing your loan officer, things of that nature, you want to do that. But if you need access, and here's the other thing, and this is why I was saying that I need a national bank, right? For instance, I've had fraud done to my accounts when it was regional, and then it took a long time to get my money back. It was like all these things that it was tough, and to the point where there's been times I've been traveling, you know what I'm saying, having a small regional bank, and because they're small and regional, they would decline purchases that weren't in New York. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was tough, But now with this national bank, if fraud happens, they on it really quick, but then they know my patterns. And so they know that I travel a lot, and so that they allow the I don't know if their fraud system is better, but they know when things are fraud and they know when things are like official. So yeah, appreciate that question. All right, we got a few more minutes left. So let me see. All right, so we got a few more minutes. So Locks, AUE Locks says, what about black-owned banks? So I have an account with a black-owned bank here in Atlanta. I'll say Citizens. I have an account with Citizens. So I think it's Citizens Trust, and they've been around for a very, very long time. And I just use them to help put money into like black-owned banks. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any black-owned banks that have been national. Like, there's no national black-owned banks that I would bank with. There are some that are housed in one state and allow you to open accounts from different states, but they don't have like locations in those places, and their service still, they can't hire enough people. And so when I call, even sometimes with credit unions, when you call them, you have to be on hold for a long time. They push you to do things online, and you can't speak to a person. And I understand, I ran a credit union, so I understand the the things that come with that. Is that if you have limitations on what you can spend money on, then that could limit the amount of service you can give. So I'm not saying bad service, I just mean like not enough service. And so I would really love like an online only bank that was, for us, by us, because that way, the service could be good, but the, you don't have the overhead of having a physical branch. So great question. All right, y'all, we running out of time. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ash Cash Show every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, ashcashtv.com. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, subscribe to the podcast at the ashcastshow.com. We will be releasing some exclusive one-on-one interviews coming up on the Ash Cash Show. So not on this live, but you'll see it on the Ash Cash Show. So go to the ashcastshow.com and subscribe to the podcast. Again, this is for us, by us, your top finance and hip-hop news and pop culture news. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Go to mindrightmoney.com. All of the news articles will be posted there. Under resources, you can support the show. You can support books. You can support e-guides, courses, all of that. Go to mindrightmoney.com, and under resources, you'll see those things. Until tomorrow, same time, same place. Peace.